What's up, United family, and welcome back to the United News, your number one source for everything Manchester United. I'm your host, and if you're new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell because we're about to dive into some absolutely massive news that could change everything at Old Trafford. Now, before we jump into today's video, I need to tell you something. The transfer window is absolutely on fire right now, and the stories coming out of Manchester are honestly mind-blowing. We're talking about potential game-changing signings, shocking player departures, and behind-the-scenes drama that even Fabrizio Romano would call crazy. Today I'm bringing you 3 absolutely huge stories that are dominating the headlines, and trust me, by the end of this video, you're going to have a completely different view of what United's squad might look like next season. We're talking about our never-ending striker hunt that could finally have a solution, a world-class player who's still available but might cost us big money, and some absolutely shocking news about one of our most promising young talents. But here's the thing that's got me really excited about today's video. These aren't just random transfer rumors or clickbait headlines. These are real situations that are happening right now, with real consequences for our club's future. And some of the information I'm about to share with you hasn't been covered properly anywhere else. First up, we're going to talk about Victor Osimhen and why he might be the missing piece that United desperately need. The Nigerian striker has been absolutely tearing it up in Turkey, but there's a massive problem with his potential move to Old Trafford that nobody's talking about. I'm going to break down exactly what's happening with this transfer saga and why it's more complicated than you think. Then we're diving deep into the Alejandro Garnacho situation that's got everyone talking. Now I know what you're thinking, surely United aren't really considering letting go of one of their most exciting young players. But the rumors are getting stronger by the day, and what I'm hearing about Chelsea's interest might shock you. Even Fabrizio Romano has been keeping a close eye on this one, and when he's watching, you know something big is about to happen. Finally, we're going to talk about the striker United let slip away and why it might be one of the biggest mistakes of the transfer window. Jonathan David was right there, available for free, and somehow United didn't make it happen. I'm going to explain exactly what went wrong and what it means for our search for a proven goalscorer. Now I want to be completely honest with you. Some of the information I'm sharing today comes from sources that are giving completely different stories. The transfer market is absolutely chaotic right now, and even the most reliable journalists are struggling to keep up with what's really happening. But that's why the United News exists, to cut through all the noise and give you the real story about what's going on at our club. So grab your coffee, get comfortable, and let's dive into what could be the most important transfer window for United in years. These next few weeks could determine whether we're challenging for trophies next season or struggling to score goals again. And after watching this video, you'll know exactly what United need to do to get back to the top. Are you ready? Let's go. United transfer update. The striker hunt continues and Garnacho's future hangs in the balance. Hey United fans, grab your coffee and settle in because we need to talk about what's really happening at Old Trafford right now. While you've been following the team's ups and downs this season, there's been some serious drama brewing behind the scenes that could change everything about how United look next season. I'm talking about 2 massive stories that are dominating the headlines. First, our never-ending search for a world-class striker that could finally solve our goal-scoring problems. Second, the shocking rumors about Alejandro Garnacho potentially leaving the club. Both situations are moving fast, and honestly, they're more connected than you might think. Let me break down exactly what's happening with both stories and why they matter so much for our club's future. The striker problem that just won't go away. Let's start with the elephant in the room. Manchester United can't score enough goals. I know you've heard this before. But the numbers don't lie, and they're pretty scary when you really look at them. Last season, United managed just 44 goals in the Premier League. Think about that for a second. Manchester City scored 96 goals. Arsenal got 91. Even Newcastle, who had their own struggles, managed 85 goals. Our 44 goals explains exactly why we finished so far down the table. You simply can't compete at the top level when you're not putting the ball in the back of the net. And right now, that's our biggest problem. Ruben Amorim knows this. The new manager has made it crystal clear that finding a top striker is his number one priority this transfer window. But here's where it gets interesting. While United have been looking around for solutions, they've already missed out on one perfect opportunity. And there's still one world-class striker sitting there waiting for someone to make a move. The one that got away. Before we talk about who's still available, let's quickly look at the massive opportunity United just missed. His name is Jonathan David, and he was basically the perfect signing for our current situation. The Canadian striker had everything we needed. He's young at 25 years old. He scores goals regularly. He's proven himself in big matches. And here's the kicker that should make every United fan cry a little bit inside. He was available for absolutely nothing. David scored 109 goals in 232 games for Lille. That's nearly 1 goal every 2 games. For Canada, his record is even better with 34 goals in 63 matches. These weren't just goals against weak teams either. This guy scored against Real Madrid, Juventus, Liverpool, and Atletico Madrid in the Champions League. So why didn't United move for him? That's the question that's been keeping me up at night. Maybe they thought they could get someone better. Maybe they were focused on other positions. Or maybe they just didn't act fast enough. Whatever the reason, David is now heading to Juventus on a free transfer. That's a massive missed opportunity. Getting a striker of his quality without paying a transfer fee would have been incredible business in today's crazy market. The world-class striker who's still available. But here's where the story gets really interesting. While United missed out on David, there's still a world-class striker available who could solve all our problems. His name is Victor Osimhen, and he might be exactly what we need. Osimhen is currently playing for Galatasaray on loan from Napoli. And let me tell you, he's been absolutely incredible in Turkey. The Nigerian striker has scored 37 goals in just 41 games this season. That's nearly a goal per game, which is exactly what United need. Now, I can already hear some of you saying the Turkish league isn't strong enough to judge a player properly. But here's the thing, Osimhen has already proven himself at the highest level. He was the star player when Napoli won Serie A. He's scored goals in the Champions League. He's done it for Nigeria on the international stage. At 26 years old, Osimhen is entering his prime years. These are typically the best years for any striker. He's got the experience but still has plenty of good years ahead of him. So why hasn't anyone signed him yet? The money problem everyone's talking about. The answer to why Osimhen is still available comes down to one thing: money. Napoli still own his contract, and they want around £70 million for him. That's a lot of money, but it's not crazy expensive for a striker of his quality in today's market. The bigger problem is his wage demands. Osimhen wants to be paid like the top striker he is. And that's where things get complicated for United. The club's new owners, Ineos, have made it clear they don't want to break their wage structure. They've seen what happens when clubs pay crazy wages to players, and it usually ends badly. But here's the thing that's been bothering me. Sometimes you need to make exceptions for special players. And Osimhen is definitely special. United's biggest problem is scoring goals. They've tried different solutions but nothing has worked. They need someone who can guarantee 25 to 30 goals per season. Osimhen can do that. His track record proves it. Sometimes you have to pay top money for top quality. And in a world where average strikers cost 50 to 60 million pounds, maybe 70 million for a proven goalscorer isn't so bad after all. How this deal could actually work? Here's how I think a deal could happen. As the transfer window goes on, both sides might become more flexible. United know they desperately need a striker. They've looked at other options but haven't found anyone better than Osimhen. The longer they wait, the more limited their choices become. Osimhen, on the other hand, wants to play for a top club. He's 26 and in his prime. He can't afford to waste another season. If other big clubs don't make serious offers, he might have to lower his wage demands. Napoli also want to sell. They've already replaced Osimhen and need the money. They might accept a lower fee if it means getting him off their books. So there's definitely a deal to be done here. It just needs all three parties to be realistic about what they can accept. The Garnacho drama that's shocking everyone. Now let's talk about the other big story that's got everyone talking. The Alejandro Garnacho situation. And honestly, this one is even more confusing than the striker hunt. Is Garnacho really being pushed out of Manchester United? That's the question on every Red Devil's mind right now. The 21-year-old winger, who many of us thought would be a key player for years to come, suddenly finds himself at the center of transfer rumors that just won't go away. Here's what's really frustrating about this whole situation. We're getting completely different stories from different sources. Some reports say Amorim has been supportive of the young winger and believes he has a future at United. Others claim the manager had a public confrontation with Garnacho, telling him in front of the entire squad that he needs to find a new club. Which version is true? That's the million-dollar question, and honestly, it's impossible to know for sure when we're getting such conflicting information. The Chelsea connection. Here's where things get really interesting. Chelsea's name keeps coming up whenever we talk about Garnacho's potential departure. And from what we're hearing, this isn't just media speculation. Reports suggest that Garnacho himself would actually be interested in making the move to Stamford Bridge. The appeal of London, the chance to play for a club that's been spending big money on young talent, and the opportunity for regular first-team football all make Chelsea an attractive option. But here's the thing about Chelsea. They've already been very busy in the transfer market. They've been throwing money around like it's going out of style, picking up players left and right. The question is whether they still have the appetite and the budget for another big signing. From United's perspective, this whole situation seems to be about getting clarity. The club apparently wants to know where they stand with potential buyers, especially Chelsea, so they can make their own plans accordingly. What this all means for United's future. Think about it from the club's point of view. You have a young player whose future is uncertain. You're not sure if he fits into the manager's long-term plans. You're hearing that other clubs might be interested, but you don't know how serious that interest is. What do you do in that situation? You try to get some definitive answers. That's why we're hearing reports about United reaching out to intermediaries to gauge Chelsea's actual level of interest. If Chelsea comes back and says they're serious about making a move, then United can start planning for life without Garnacho. But if Chelsea decides to pass, then maybe it's time to sit down with the player and figure out how to make things work at Old Trafford. This whole situation with Garnacho is part of a bigger story about the direction United is heading under Amorim. The new manager is clearly trying to put his stamp on the team, and that means making some tough decisions about which players fit his vision and which ones don't. The fan perspective on both situations. As United fans, how should we feel about all this? It's complicated, isn't it? On one hand, we want to see the club make tough decisions if they're necessary for success. If Amorim genuinely believes that certain players don't fit his system, then maybe it's better to let them go and use that money to bring in players who do fit. On the other hand, Garnacho is exactly the type of young, exciting player that we should be building our future around. He's got pace, skill, and the ability to create something out of nothing. Those are qualities that every top team needs. The same goes for the striker situation. We desperately need someone who can score goals regularly. We've been waiting for years to see our team find the back of the net consistently. Maybe it's time to stop looking for bargains and start investing in guaranteed quality. What happens next? So where does this leave us? Right now, it seems like everyone is waiting for decisions to be made. With the striker hunt, United need to decide if they're willing to meet Osimhen's demands or if they'll keep looking for alternatives. With the Garnacho situation, everyone is waiting for Chelsea to make their move. If they come in with a serious offer, then we might see our young winger heading to London sooner rather than later. But if Chelsea decides to focus on other targets, then United and Garnacho will need to figure out how to move forward together. That might mean having some honest conversations about what needs to change for the player to succeed at Old Trafford. The timing of all this is also important. We're still in the transfer window, which means there's time for situations to change. Player relationships with managers can improve, new opportunities can arise, and what seems certain today might look completely different next week. The bottom line for United fans. Here's what we know for sure right now. United desperately need a striker who can score goals regularly. Osimhen is available and has proven he can do exactly that, but his wage demands are causing problems. Garnacho's future at the club is uncertain, with conflicting reports about whether he's been told to leave or if he still has a chance to prove himself. What we don't know is how either of these situations will play out. Will United bite the bullet and pay what it takes to get Osimhen? Will Garnacho end up at Chelsea? Will another club come in and surprise everyone? The truth is, transfer situations like this can change very quickly. What looks like a done deal one day can fall apart the next. Players can have a change of heart, clubs can shift their priorities, and managers can reassess their squads. Final thoughts. As United fans, all we can do is wait and see how these situations develop. But whatever happens, we should remember that both stories are about more than just individual players. They're about the direction our club is heading and the decisions we're making about our future. The striker hunt shows whether we're serious about competing at the top level. Are we willing to invest in proven quality, or will we keep looking for cheap alternatives that might not work out? The Garnacho situation shows how we handle our young talent. Are we giving players enough time to develop? Are we being too quick to move them on when they don't immediately fit the system? These are the questions that will determine not just what happens this transfer window, but the future of United as a club. Because at the end of the day, making the right decisions about players like Osimhen and Garnacho is what will make us successful in the long run. So keep an eye on both stories, because they're far from over. The striker hunt and the Garnacho situation are just getting started, and there are probably plenty more twists and turns to come before we know how our squad will look next season. What do you think United should do? Should we break the wage structure for Osimhen? Should we fight to keep Garnacho? These are the decisions that could shape our club's future for years to come, and as fans, we'll be watching every development closely.